Welcome back to the channel. Just when everything seemed to be spiraling out of control, Hang fell into a dangerous situation. Exhausted, panicked, and completely alone. No one knew where he was, until a figure rushed towards him from afar. It was his adopted brother. In the moment of life and death, he was there, his eyes filled with worry and determination. Will he be able to save Hang from danger in time? A peaceful morning began in the middle of the wild mountains and forests. The sunlight gently passed through the gaps between the leaves, illuminating the small house quietly nestled in the middle of nature. The sound of birds chirping in the distance seemed to lull people's hearts. Everything seemed normal, except for one thing. He still couldn't remember who he was. Since waking up after fainting on the road, Hang only knew that she was being taken care of by a strange girl. She didn't talk much, just silently did everything: cooking, bandaging, wiping his forehead when he had a fever. Although she didn't know what kind of person she used to be, Hang knew. He was captivated by her eyes. This morning, when Hang suddenly had another severe headache, he held his forehead, his whole body trembling from the sharp pain, like a knife cutting. The girl ran over in panic, knelt down beside him, her eyes filled with worry. Without hesitation, she opened the small cloth bag, took out a handful of remaining forest leaves, crumpled them, and quickly applied them to his forehead. Her movements were awkward, but full of care and urgency. She was used to taking care of Hang these past days, from the time he was still in a coma until he woke up in a daze, losing all his memories. But this time was different. Her eyes were quiet. Her hands trembled slightly with fear. She understood clearly. Holding the medicinal leaves was only a temporary measure. It could not fight the increasingly intense pain that was tormenting Hang. Without time to think much, she stood up, quickly put on her coat, picked up her basket, and left the house. She decided to go deep into the forest where she could find rare medicinal herbs. Even though she knew the future was full of danger, she couldn't stand by and watch the person she loved suffer like that every day. In the middle of the deep, humid, and dangerous forest, the girl still quietly walked, each step carefully on the slippery, rotten leaves. Her eyes were fixed on each tree, root, and bush. She was looking for a rare medicinal leaf that the villagers rumored could help relieve his severe pain. At home, when the girl had just disappeared into the deep forest, Hang began to have a headache more severe than ever. The sharp pain was like a knife cutting into every fiber of his brain, making him unable to bear it. He held his head tightly, collapsed to the ground, his whole body trembling. In the vague pain, fragments of memories suddenly flashed: a familiar call, a blurry scene, someone's eyes filled with tears. Heart pounding, Hang staggered to his feet. It seemed like something was urging him, a voice in his head, a distant image that made him follow. He left the house, walking quickly down the mountain as if chasing his own subconscious. But then, when he arrived, everything became empty. He stood bewildered in the middle of the path, not remembering where he had just gone, why he had come down here. All clues suddenly disappeared as if they had never existed. In utter confusion, he began to ask each person he met along the way, "Do you know where my house is? Do I know anyone like me?" But the only response was unfamiliar looks, head shaking with concern. No one recognized him. No one knew who he was. He had no name, no hometown, no connections. Finally, he stood precariously in the middle of the trail. The sun was scorching. The wind was blowing fiercely. He didn't know where to go, where to return. Only loneliness and pain remained, tormenting him to the point of despair. On the hill, when the sun had set, the girl returned with a basket of herbs after a day of wandering in the deep forest. But as soon as she entered the house, her heart felt like it was being squeezed. Hang was no longer there. The house was empty, cold, and scary. Panicked, she ran outside, calling his name everywhere. "Honey, where are you?" Her call echoed through the mountains and forests, but no one answered. She crossed the path, followed each slope, asked each passerby, hoping someone had seen him. Hopeless. She picked it up. The towel she had placed on his forehead still smelled of herbs, but he had disappeared. Her heart was in turmoil. "You said you loved me. Why did you leave me? Why didn't you wait for me to come back?" She didn't know where he went, if he remembered who he was, if he was in pain alone somewhere. Hang was still standing in the middle of the road, her eyes looking up at the sky, desperate and disoriented. A sudden, severe headache made him dizzy. He only had time to hold his forehead, then collapsed to the dry ground, unconscious. In the distance, in the gently swaying bushes, a large snake was slithering out, its shiny black scales glistening in the late afternoon sunlight. Its tongue continuously lolled out, gradually moving towards Hang's motionless body. No one knew. Deadly danger was quietly approaching every second. Just as the snake opened its mouth, preparing to rush forward and swallow the unconscious Hang, the engine noise was deafening. A car suddenly rushed forward and stopped right next to it. The snake was startled, turned around and slithered into the forest, disappearing in an instant. The car door opened. A man hurriedly got out, his eyes filled with panic when he saw Hang lying unconscious. It was none other than Can, Hang's foster brother. He rushed forward, knelt down beside his younger brother, his voice choked. "Hang, what happened to you?" Without a second's hesitation, Can quickly picked Hang up, opened the car door and placed his younger brother on the back seat. Sweat poured out of his face from worry, his hands shaking as he closed the car door. In the mountains, after a day of running around the trails, following the stream, and calling Hang's name until her voice was hoarse, but still no response, the girl had to quietly return. The small house was now suffocatingly quiet. Everything was still there, but the person she loved was not. She sat absent-mindedly by the door, her hand tightly holding the medicine basket, her eyes distant and full of worry. The person she had just said words of love to, had just poured her heart into, had now disappeared without a trace. Little did she know, in another place, Hang had met her relative, her adopted brother, whom he could not remember in his vague memories. Would fate allow them to meet again? Or was everything just unfinished? Can finally took Hang to the clinic. The small clinic sign appeared at the end of the road. Without waiting for the car to stop, Can opened the door and rushed out, around to the back, carrying Hang on his back and rushing forward. "Save my sister, please, save my sister," he shouted. Can put Hang on the examination bed, his eyes burning every second the doctor examined her. He did not leave for half a step, standing beside her, his eyes following Hang. The doctor measured her blood pressure, checked her pulse, shined a light into Hang's eyes, then placed his hand on her forehead. After a while, he took off his mask, breathed lightly, and turned to Can. "It's okay. She's just exhausted, too tired to pass out. Her pulse is still steady. Her temperature is not feverish. Just rest. Get some for fluids and she'll be fine." Can was still sitting by the bed, his eyes still worried. Even though the doctor had reassured him, one thing kept haunting him. He remembered very clearly when he had just arrived. Not far from where Hang had fainted, a large black snake was slithering away, its eyes full of menace, its tongue constantly sticking out viciously. Can quickly walked closer to the doctor, his voice still tense. "Doctor, when I got to where my sister had fainted, I saw a very large snake there. Please check carefully for any bite marks. I'm afraid it did something to my sister." The doctor looked up, his eyes calm but not subjective. He nodded. "I checked his entire body very carefully, his arms, his legs, his neck, his chest, his back. There were absolutely no signs of snake bites or poisoning. His pulse and reflexes were also normal. Don't worry, that's not the case." At that moment, Hang moved slightly, blinking awake. He looked around, his eyes bewildered. "Where am I? Who are you all?" Can was stunned, walking closer. "Don't you recognize me? I'm Can, your foster brother." Hang shook her head, her face blank. "Sorry, I don't remember anything," the doctor said softly. "He may have temporary amnesia due to exhaustion and shock. He needs more time to be monitored." Can fell silent, his heart tightening. Right after leaving the clinic, Can took Hang to his own house for convenient care. He made some water, helped Hang lie down and rest, then sat down next to her and asked softly, "You really don't remember anything? Don't you miss me, your home, your friends?" Hang was silent for a moment, then held her head, frowning, as if trying to recall something in her mind. My head hurts so much. Everything is blurry. I can't remember anything." Can looked at his younger brother, his heart heavy, and didn't say another word. Will Can help Hang regain her memory? Let's watch the next episode.